What's up, everybody? My name is Richard Terrell, and you are watching DO Live. It's a daily stream show in which we talk about game design, and I pretend to drink out of this cup. There's nothing in it. So, we're going to talk about game design today. We're going to talk about and recap some of the topics that we started in the Discord. We really talk about game design 24/7 in the Discord, so if you need to know how to get to our Twitter or Discord or YouTube page or whatever, just hit up designoriented.net, and that website will give you all the links. But otherwise, an interesting topic came up. One of the DO members was browsing through, this, which is my spreadsheet of games I've played and other cool, interesting details, including games that I rank by genre. And my favorite racing game right here is the Mario Kart series, followed by Excite Truck. What a strange number 2 on my slot. What an odd addition. This is a game that when I first saw on the E3 or whatever, I was like, no. I don't like trucks. I was not digging this game, and it's just one of those things I decided to completely ignore, except I got an opportunity to play it when I was in college, and somebody had it, so I borrowed it. It turned out to be one of my favorite games, favorite racers. So here is why, and let's just click on a video. Let's watch this guy play and ignore the advertisements real quick. Oh, that wasn't an ad. It's loading. Okay, so Excite Truck. Listen to that bad music. It's bad. So one of the cool things about this game is that I actually used the Wii SD card to play MP3s. So I put on my soundtrack, freaking Naruto and Mad World from the Gears of War commercial. That's where I first heard it. And then there's a raining level in this game where it's all like raining and kind of drab, and I love listening to the Mad World soundtrack. So that's another reason why I like this game a lot. It's just fun. So here's the basic idea of Excite Truck, and this is why I think it's such a great game. So you see your star total at the top. I'm not even sure what that means. I think that's the total you need to S rank. I'm not sure, but you can smash other trucks to, and the more you smash them, like, the more devastating the crash on the other vehicle. You get up to 5 stars, and every system in this game is on a 5-star rating, including how much air you get. Look at this. How many rings you get. You got to go 5 rings, super rings, right? Drift. If you drift long enough, you'll go from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stars. So you got to get these really long drifts in order to maximize that. You get these crazy airs right here, and you tilt your truck back to sort of aim in midair, and then you want to try to land on all 4 tires. So that was a 4-star air right there, and that was a 2-star smash. And then sometimes you get a star power, just like in Mario. You just smash into everything for 5 stars, and then you can angle yourself in midair, and you try to. You have some air control, but not a lot. So you really do have to aim as you're racing in order to hit some of these crazy tricks, and activating your turbos, because you got turbo boosts, and you pretty much drive around a standard-ish race course. But what's cool about this game is, even though there's a track right here, you can just go into the trees, right, at any time. They don't have, next to the track, it's like hazards, but it's still open for you to drive there. And if you get near crashes, you can also get points. So you can basically super air into a landing, super drift through the trees to get a super dodge into all these other things. And it's not really about chaining it all together. It's ultimately about getting these points. Like right here is going to go into the trees and get the super. And when you have the super, you can just smash all the trees you want. But the cool part about that is you smash into the trees, but as soon as you smash into one, you don't get any more star bonuses. So you still have to race if you want those points, even though you're invincible, right? So yeah, this was a classic game where I talked about 3D control of 3D. I made an article about it. Let me just pause this real quick. Critical gaming. Is that lightning? And over here, archives, control of 3D. So when the Wii came out, these new controls came out, and lots of interesting things to consider. But one thing I thought that was really effective and really interesting that was showcased in Wii Sports is how the 3D motion controls was highly effective at controlling 3D gameplay. So I mentioned that here a little bit, and then I talk about Excite Truck in another article. Where is that article? But when you're in the air, you control your truck three-dimensionally, and it's pretty intuitive because the truck is sort of mapped to your Wiimote input. So you hold the Wiimote in three-dimensional space, and you try to line up your tires based on where you're going to land, which is pretty cool. So this is an article. Where is it? Nope. Where's Excite Truck? Oh, the picture's loading in. In Excite Truck, players can land their trucks from the air on all four tires for a speed boost. Because the terrain is so uneven, bumpy, and hilly, landing on all tires requires the player to angle the truck beforehand in midair. Controlling the truck is as simple as tilting the Wiimote, as if it were the handlebars of your truck. Turning and tilting the truck in midair engages all three dimensions, making the air control mechanic of 3D controlled mechanics in a full 3D gameplay game. So ultimately, what that does for Excite Truck is just makes for a really engaging experience, right? So you're controlling your truck along the ground. You are keeping track of your momentum, your drift, your position, your nearness to other hazards and obstacles. And for all the reasons why racing is complicated, you have to pay attention to that stuff in other cars and navigate your way through shortcuts or take risks by deciding which paths you go on. But even beyond that, every time you launch into the air, which this game gives you big air, super air, right, and all these opportunities to do such things, you have to really be conscious of where your truck is and like where it's heading, how's it gonna land. You get these power-ups sometimes where the terrain morphs underneath you and you can fling other trucks if you time it right. Usually it's just a random bonus because you can't really control when the other trucks are going to be slightly ahead of you on the track. Yeah, like he just grabbed that, this hill came up, so you might as well take it for extra points and extra shortcut opportunity. But if you didn't grab that, the hill wouldn't have opened up. You gotta skim along the shallow water. Yeah, that part's cool where the hills go on the left and right of you and you're driving down the center. So yeah, it's just a really cool game, just solid racing, solid experience. So I was going to say before, I think a lot of people kind of underestimate what it takes to make a solid game, and they think, oh man, so many of these games that are AAA are not perfect, and everyone likes to say, despite its flaws, or it's not perfect. Like, quit saying that, you're a bad critic. But besides that, I say all the time, more complex games are obviously harder to pull off, harder to make, but it doesn't make them better. And simple games and nailing it when you do a simple thing and just making sure your controls are good and making sure your levels are varied and making sure everything is just good, right, has a really good effect on the final product, right, and the final experience, right? And you can do tricks. If you manage to do 3 or 5, I think it's 5 tricks in midair, you can get the trick bonus. And the controls for that is pretty cool. Since normally you're steering left and right, in order to do a trick, you hold like the B button underneath and you give your steering wheel a good old spin, and then that spins your truck and you can just realign yourself afterwards. Pretty nice. Finding mini ramps by going off of rocks is pretty cool. The terrain is just real like engaging, right? Right here it's going to try to land on all 4 tires up the hill. Yeah, nice landing. Wasn't a perfect landing, but it was nice. So cool. Yeah, I feel like games like this really do a good job. And it's not like it's devoid of ideas. It just makes sure that there's nothing extra in its attempt to polish what it has. And I really like that. That's why the game is so high on my list. Yeah, any questions, Adrian?
No, not yet.
Let's hit that new Devil May Cry video. Gamescom. 15 minutes of Devil May Cry, IGN, Gamescom. Oh, advertisements. Hey, this is another game we could talk about. But I haven't seen the new trailer for this thing.
Oh yeah, that's good. That
Sekiro.
Sekiro, yeah. We could check that one out too. Well, if you've got time for it.
Yeah. So Devil May Cry, you're gonna watch it from the beginning or skip to the gameplay?
Wherever the gameplay starts, because that's what I want to see.
Okay, let's go to 48 seconds. It shows you the controls. Lock on, melee attack, gun attack, devil breaker, and jump. Reset camera for the click. It's interesting. And you get different arms, so I'm going to go ahead and play it 50 seconds. Yeah, so one thing I say all the time is, from what I hear, the original Devil May Cry is more like Resident Evil, and you're in a place, and it's you do a little backtracking, you do a little exploring, and you put that knowledge to good use. But more and more so now, Devil May Cry is sort of pure action, which means hallway after hallway, room after room of just fights for the most part, with super, super light, like, puzzles and non-fighting encounters, right? So that's what we have here, the latest Devil May Cry game, and they've sort of tripled down on the combat.
What time are you at?
I'm at 1 minute and 44 seconds.
Okay. Okay, good. That gives me a good chance to look at this lock-on.
Yeah, so this is the 5th game in the series, and
2.
I played Devil May Cry 4. This is the only one I really played. He's kind of going crazy right now. This game was one of the first to bring this super stylized action to a 3D action game, or just in an action game in general, right? There wasn't really a lot of super anime stylized style games before games like Devil May Cry. So that's cool. They're keeping in that same style. One thing I noticed with a lot of 3D games is enemies track to you pretty hard, you track to enemies pretty hard, and you have all these mechanics that help zip you to them or them to you. In this case, Dante has like a crazy arm.
That's Nero.
Yeah, Nero has a crazy arm, and that's not the same Nero from 4, right?
He cut his hair.
So that's Nero.
Mm-hmm.
Who was the last kid in the last game?
No, it
Nero?
was Nero.
Okay, yeah. Man. Why did they? Anyway, he looks like a different character. Whatever.
Yeah, he does.
That's fine. He's using the same grabby arm, but spoiler: his arm got cut off at the end of the last game. So now, let's just move back over here. Now he's got a robotic arm, different functionality, same basic stuff is there, like grabbing things, but he goes on through his routine. Let me just get off my TV. So yeah, this game has a long history and a long evolution, but there's a lot of things that irk me about the series that I don't think they've done any innovating in a long time, or maybe at all. And like, to a certain degree, it feels like the lock-on doesn't make by itself for a really clear visual experience when you're fighting in multiple monsters and in rooms like this. So there could be the whole Mario 64 style camera where they give you the tools in order to see clearly, but you gotta have skill. Manning the camera is just as skillful as controlling Mario. So even though this player seems highly competent, some of the things that happen are just really kind of hard to tell what's going on.
Yeah, I've counted about 3 or 4 instances of the camera doing something it probably should not be doing.
Like what? Flipping?
Yeah, flipping. Nero just going completely off the camera because it's switching to a new target. Shouldn't be doing that. Like if you went backwards around 2 minutes, I think I saw an instance of that happening.
Oh, 2 minutes. That's like 2 minutes ago.
Yeah.
Not to say that this player is the best or knows what they're doing like 100%, but you can kind of see the degree of automation in the combos and the movement and stuff. So a lot of it is done sort of automatically or for you just to keep the sort of coolness going. And I much prefer my action games to be less flashy so that I can put the moves together and make my own combos and worry about my own spacing and things like that. and for some reason he picks up arms on the ground. It's probably not a good idea to have the enemies drop like EXP or coins or whatever, and then it not automatically suck into your body after the battle's over. Like, do you really want them to run around the battlefield and collect it? Maybe it's not that big of a deal because there's really nothing else to do in this game but fight and move forward. So here, the lighting is a little crazy. A lot of this next-gen lighting where they cast shadows on the characters and you can't see a lot of detail can get really tricky sometimes.
Just saw another one at 6 minutes.
Your head. Oh, yeah, right at 6 minutes, yeah.
Yeah, the camera did something it probably should not have been doing because you just lose track of him. Oh, another one at 6:20.
So it's kind of crazy. So if you think about it, moving through a 3D space is not trivial. It's really complex. Navigating around objects, and then especially when you're knocking enemies around and doing things. Like, this is just crazy sauce. Calm down, camera. And like what Dante's doing...
Nero.
Nero. What Nero is doing is not entirely complex, right? He's going to different targets and whacking them around and zipping around in straight lines. And there's like no obstacles in the room to worry about besides these creatures. And like with the 2D game, you get that clarity so much more easily. You got Beautiful Joe, and in that game, you can slow down time and punch bullets and go super fast and set things on fire and dodge out of the way and jump out of the way and double jump, and all of it's presented so well from a nice 2D perspective. So in general, besides the cool look and the graphics, I'm not sure what 3D-ness is gaining, what you gain from having this combat be 3D necessarily. Especially if you just keep zipping to targets and fighting them with such sticky lock-on that it's essentially one-dimensional. Yeah, so in other words, like you make a complex system like this, and then you simplify it a lot with the lock-on. That seems to be sort of a type of design that quickly and easily introduces issues, and these are some of the issues we're talking about. Like, your camera can't keep up with this crazy action. That's a problem. And the general thing about third person, I love seeing my character, especially for spacing things, but man, with most of the things that you do are directly in front of you, it's so hard to see. You don't really see the attacks because you're looking at your character's back. You don't really see how long your range is and things like that. And especially the faster Nero moves, it gets kind of crazy. And to some degree, yeah, you can memorize your attacks and memorize what's going on, so you have a pretty clear idea of what's happening. But man, for visual clarity, you can take a really big hit. I always notice that games like Twilight Princess and Skyward Sword, they give Link a long sword, and they tilt their camera in a way to where you can see where the sword hits, and they make their enemies large so that, kind of like Punch-Out, where a lot of times Link will be framed inside the enemy silhouette, so you can see what's happening in between them. Or games like Mario Galaxy, where they're never afraid to do whatever they need with the camera to make the action clear. Side scrolling, top down, 3D, planetoid 3D, whatever you need, like, it just does it, right?
Yeah.
And I always wondered if games like this could have more cameras like that. So you see the boss now?
Right now he's just talking smack to him.
Yeah, I'm gonna skip ahead because he talks a lot of smack.
It's Devil May Cry tradition.
So it's cool. The boss revealed one of his powers at like 11 minutes and 10 seconds so that he can like shove things in his little crazy stomach and shoot out a fireball. So now I'm at 11 minutes 29 seconds. So surprisingly enough, I feel like the camera for this boss battle is just super clear, and that's which is hard to do considering he's fighting a really large creature. Like the gameplay can be, I mean, I still don't think this is a neat thing to do with your gameplay. Oh no, advertisements, get out of here. But to have a small thing beating up a large thing and then just basically do a death by 1,000 cuts where you can hit just about any part of his body and there's not like a stage takedown kind of thing, but it's just accumulating damage and kind of avoiding or dodging however. It's not my favorite. I don't think it's that interesting. That's why Shadow Colossus was so cool. That's why I liked it so much. Just see how clear that camera was when the floor transforms?
Yeah. Oh, there's one... it's not the worst thing, but you're going to see another camera issue when he jumps over him.
Oh, that zoom spin?
Yeah. Yeah, it's not the worst thing when you're focusing on one target, having it do a almost
quick 180
like that. Yeah, it's still manageable. Actually, I don't actually know what else you can do about that.
So I think Nero doesn't have a dodge, which seems to be pretty prevalent. Look at these cool graphics.
Wait, he does have a dodge.
Is he using it, or is he mostly using his grapple on this to
Yeah, he's just not using it. When you lock on, move a direction, and hit the jump, that's how you do your dodge.
Hit the jump. Lock on?
Yeah, lock on, point the stick in direction, hit jump.
Point.
That's how you do dodge.
I love the ground texture when he slams it. Looks so good. Yeah. So bosses in these action games, they've had a hard time making them in general, right? You got God of War, in which you do simple things to activate QTEs, and the QTE sequences have much more appropriate attacks and hits to take down that boss, and they're all like hand tailored or custom made. You have other games that you just kind of attack their toes or whatever, and maybe they'll go into different phases that seem appropriate to them taking damage or you getting a different kind of advantage. But as far as melee action games go, it's really kind of hard to understand how you can take out a large target with your melee attacks, right? With smaller targets, you can have knockback, you can have combos and stuff. It just seems to never apply to these larger creatures. So then you're like, well, is it about platforming and maneuvering around their attacks? Maybe a little bit, but it's still very general, right? Like you roll or back up out of the way of their punch attacks, and that whole like punch sequence and like just dodging back to the timed tells is very, I say basic, because that's just how a lot of these creatures are designed in these melee action games. I'm going to pause it right there. But I feel like there's a lot more that can be done with action, right? And not settling for the abstraction or the simplification of like, yeah, my character's doing hit point damage, and all I need to do eventually is to get these hit points down, right? I like what, in theory, what Titan Souls did with their boss design. You take one hit to kill in that game. Let me Titan Souls. And the bosses take one hit to kill. But you have to fight for it or work for it to get the boss to reveal their weak point. And then you attack it. Give me Titan Souls long play. Cool. More ads. Anyway, so that's a neat idea, right? You kind of put you and the boss on the same stakes, and you're more maneuverable, but the boss is more armored. Seems pretty fair. And And even though the boss battle can go by quickly, chances are in a game like Titan Souls, you're going to be struggling and learning just to figure out whatever happened. But let me skip ahead in this and see if we can see an example. So it looks like this boss is protected by some jelly, and you have to pick up your one arrow you shoot, which is kind of cool. Kind of Neo RPG-ish, where you have like one bit of ammo, or it's limited ammo. You got to go pick it up if you shoot it. And then there's a heart exposed, and I think if he hits it once, he'll beat this boss. Yeah. And then he wins. Just basic stuff like that. It's a neat idea. A lot of times these action games don't build their gameplay systems and their world and their spaces out of maneuvering. They build it out of attacking and comboing, and that it's pretty clear that they don't have a lot of wiggle room when they're trying to make these bosses that are so big you really have to maneuver around them to make them work. That's why I always think having a platformer base, a 3D platformer base, would be a stronger candidate for making a good large boss battle, because the majority of what you do against a large boss is maneuver. You're moving out of the way of its large attacks, you're maneuvering behind stuff, and then on top of it, and then finally you get an opportunity, which is very Shadow of the Colossus. So I just think a lot of things are kind of uninspired in that way. In Super Smash Brothers, you go inside of this like huge mountain creature and fight its weak point, which is its heart inside of it, which is kind of cool. In Drill Dozer, you do a similar thing. And having neat setups like that or set pieces can work too. But I'd rather see what a game can do if it carves it out of its like core gameplay. So I'm going to show this video of Super Flight. I could show I could play it, but this is just as good. Oh, that's so close. So this game, you're just endlessly free-falling, and when you get down to the bottom of the world, you teleport to another procedurally generated world of these rock formations, and then you just, keep flying and try to get as close to things as possible and try never to hit anything. But if you can practice a single world over and over, right? So in this case, this guy knows this path. Unfortunately, learning these paths is a lot of trial and error. But it's a really simple game made by some indies, and they got it out for a pretty cheap price, so I'm not going to complain. They got some pretty cool features. But let's say that this whole world is very 3D. You can go in the rocks and around the rocks and fly around. And typically, your main mode of interaction in this is obviously gliding, but then this gliding is falling with style. You can't fly up, you only fall down. And if you're only falling down, you can think of that in terms of platforming, right? Like, oh, if you have this much maneuverability and this much sort of freedom to explore a complex 3D space, then starting with this as your base and then trying to figure out a way to put the stylistic combat from this would be a much more effective way of building a system that can breathe a lot of new life and do a lot of new things with, oh, that was so close, with their design. So a lot of times just having a flexible foundation, working with the core, playing different games as your inspiration, like this is the kind of thing I'm talking about. Like who would think that this game would have a key element for designing the next amazing character action game or an amazing Devil May Cry boss battle or whatever. Oh, that's Super Flight. So let's see, what else do we have on the agenda, Adrian?
Do you want to look at Sekiro or move on?
I don't want to look at Sekiro. That can come another time.
So the other one, well, you talked about Excite Truck and then Devil May Cry. The other one was the Pokemon Battle Royale.
Oh, that was just... Where's the video? The video's not here. I'm going to save that one for a Pokemon episode. And just...
Okay.
Because we did in Design Oriented, we wrote that article about gameplay systems and how fiction, when they play by the rules, becomes more interesting and you get these really interesting mixes. The closer they play by the rules, and interesting ways to think about what could have happened because it's rule based. And the more that TV shows or whatever don't play by their own rules and don't define the rules, the less interesting it is, and the more random things can happen out of nowhere, and they just justify it in any way. So that's more of a storytelling thing we can do later. I'm going to turn on my Switch. And I'm going to just go over some Splatoon videos that I made.
About the large bosses thing.
Mm-hmm.
I think the Zelda series in general is pretty good about how they handle large bosses.
Yeah, talk about Zelda, Splatoon, and Kid Icarus. Go.
Well, in Zelda, you're always usually doing things, like weaken them, throw a bomb in its mouth, or Coloctus, which is like take one of its giant swords and then hack away at it, which makes more sense than if you were just to use your regular sword to hack at it. They're always doing cool stuff like that. But the point is, like, you can usually never directly hit them with your sword until you use some other means to open them up, and then you inflict damage.
Yeah, well, look. Oh, dang it, I just switched to Splatoon. Maybe I'll switch back, because that's a really good point. In a game like Kid Icarus, what I love is the bosses can be shot. I mean, it's a shooting game. They can also be melee attacked, but then they have weak points and they have shields and they can move in the environment, and that's really cool. But then Pit can move around the environment too. There's jump pads and grind rails and just a nice, cleanly defined space that he dances around in, and they do a whole bunch of neat things in that game, because that game has like 30 bosses, 20-something bosses, and they each showcase a really different core aspect of the game before the end, so that's super cool. But in the Grim Reaper fight, Super Flight, let me see if I can get this Super Flight going. Can you guys still see it? Cool. Kid Icarus Reaper boss. Right here. Okay, so he's this little dude. It's a little normal enemy, and then he freaks out and let my creature grow. Rita Repulsa style turns into this huge creature. No way, it's gigantic. So like you're on the ground level, right? And you don't know how. Well, you can see how big it is because it's stereoscopic 3D. But the closer you get, you really see how big it is. So he's got weak points. The Great Reaper must be the one who's hidden Pandora's Labyrinth. And he tries to stomp on you, and you're like, he has huge shockwaves. This is not safe. When we go up. And when you go up, it's a different kind of battle. He has a different weak point that you can access from up here, and he has a different set of attacks, but then he stunned them because he did enough damage right there. And you can hear the different weak points going off, and then when he attacks the high, you can drop low and cut his feet. And then when he tries to stomp, you can jump back up. And then eventually you'll bust his final weak point, which is one place in his head, and you headshot him, right? Shooting game, getting headshots. Different limbs are very important for the stages of battle, and that's how they get it done. Pit looking cool. I'm not sure how many other really big boss battles there are. I guess you could say the Phoenix.
Yeah, you have the Phoenix.
Hydra.
The Hydra. The final weapon.
Mm-hmm. Maybe Thanatos, because he gets pretty big sometimes.
Yeah, especially when he turns into a giant foot. It's another. The Kraken is another big one. Let's see.
Yeah, the Kraken was pretty cool. The Kraken had tentacles that you attack, and then it brings up its head and you shoot him in the face. But yeah, in a shooting game, you expect as much. Where's that Skuldara? 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 That's not how you spell it. What's this?
Skuldara.
Skuldara. One letter off, and I get random junk videos. 3D control of 3D, where you grab a 3D object and you use your 3D remote controls to line it up. I really like that.
I definitely miss not having the bomb path in Breath of the Wild.
Oh, the path shown for you.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get to Skaldara. Come on.
And of course, I miss bomb bowling too.
Bomb bowling. Pyroclastic Fiend. Large boss.
Yeah, Scaldera is probably the most interesting bomb-based boss out of the 3D Zeldas. Because that first rush right there, where he's all sparkling like that, he'll actually like prematurely detonate your bombs in your hands.
And he chases you, and you can go underneath his legs and blow up parts of his face and make him roll backwards and throw the bombs inside. And, you know, like we said before, the boss has armor, so, like, okay, that kind of justifies his large size, but the armor's slowly getting chipped away, so he's moving his weak point around, and you have to aim your sword accordingly. Really cool. He gets other tricks, like running past you. Oh, this guy's just owning him. And he keeps cutting him. Oh yeah, that's the trick. Where it kind of runs past you and he goes up with the legs, so you go underneath it, which is pretty cool. And then he's just trying to squish you, so he turns around and then rolls, and you got to get to the side. Notice the camera too, right? Tiny Link. This is like Little Mac versus Tyson proportions, and like you're fighting large things. And when Link cuts, you know that swoosh is pretty important for understanding how long your sword is.
Yeah.
Parry it. He looks like Mike Wazowski. And he starts moving his eye when he has no cover. But yeah. So yeah, you gotta design around large creatures. Design them too to where you have to figure out, well, how does a melee attack person attack these large creatures? And then you think, well, if I get too close, is he gonna be so close that he's in danger of getting hit back? So then you gotta be really clear about the sections that hurt and the sections that don't, and find some interesting, clever way of attacking it, instead of just like, well, I see a toe exposed, so I'm going to cut it 1,000 times, and hopefully the creature gets annoyed with life and dies, right? That kind of thing. Back over here. So yeah, just a lot of things I think about, a lot of notes that I take, and thought experiments I participate in when I'm considering my own projects and brainstorming my own ideas. But right now we're going to take a look at some Splatoon clips, just recapping some of this stuff and talking about learning and the strategies that emerge, and on my quest to climb higher into the X rank. This is pretty cool right here, though. I'm getting chased by 2 ballers. And killing the Rainmaker. So what's cool about this game, I was thinking, the specials, each of them, as the developer said, are designed to not be so overpowered that you can just do it by yourself and just own the opposing team. They're all designed with some kind of drawback or weakness that makes it to where they're most effective when you coordinate where and when you use them with your team. And in this case, you can see right here. Oop, no, post. Where's my pause? Okay. So in this case, they're going to attack with the Rainmaker. And I was like, I'll slow him down. I see this guy. I'm like, attack you. And then I hear the baller. I'm like, oh no. I got to use some of this 3D geometry to get out of the way. So he's ramping down the ramp this way, but he's got to pick one way or the other. So I quickly go up. He almost crushed me. And then he's going to slowly go up. So I bumped that guy so he couldn't race down and trap me. Because when you bump the baller, they go backwards and you go back in the opposite direction, which is perfect. And If he was exploding instead of trying to run me over, he would have had the advantage. But right there, I bump him. Now they're both there. I throw bombs into him and then shoot it, and he can't. He slows down when you shoot it, and instead of if you shoot the ball too much, it breaks, and then they're just exposed as a little naked hamster. So then people tend to, blow the ball early, and then I made him blow it up there. The second guy goes to the right and tries to chase me down, shoot it, same thing, shoot it to make him freak out, and then fight them both. That guy gets killed from the back, and I kill this guy. Successfully held off our Rainmaker push. But that's really cool. I think about conservative design like that, and how to make even super powerful moves and super moves and specials play along with the core, right? And I voted Arms and Splatoon as I gave them 2 awards for really well designed specials. And this is part of the reason why Splatoon specials are so good. Right here, bubbles coming on the left side. They need to be attacked in order to pop them and do the most painting and damage. Enemies can attack and destroy the bubbles better than allies can, or at least better than the guy who launches the bubbles. So if you're trying to blow up a whole opposing team, they can clearly not only take you out, but take the bubbles down as well. So it requires some coordination. And because we were all there, we were able to hold off this Rainmaker push. We'll watch it again. Bubbles. I throw balloons past it just to do a little bit extra damage, and we get an assist for that kill. Throw balloons to the right, 2 of them, so I can slow down people's ability to get close. And then I continue to throw balloons in that area. Seeing somebody attacking there, so I get the high ground and try to paint. And then we take on these guys with just more balloon pressure. Too bad for them. That was funny. So in this section right here, you always have to gauge where to go with your team and try to help out the Rainmaker, your VIP player, as much as possible. So I know a person's here, right? I can hear the hits, but nobody died, right? So I'm like, okay, I'll stay here. I'll just throw a balloon over there for no reason. And then I'm watching my teammates. I'm like, where are they gonna go? Oh, I see 2 enemies over there, so I'm gonna go ahead and flank. Saw a tiny burst of ink on the top right there. I'm like, there's a person there. Let me see if I can shoot him. And he sees me. He starts weakening me with the blaster, so I back up and just throw 2 balloons. And you're dead. That's fun. Yeah, I almost died right there. So this is kind of some subtle things, but it's really easy to underestimate how important space is in these games, and this is why I don't like a lot of tracking, I don't like a lot of zippy moves, I don't like a lot of auto things done in space, because space is super important, super enriching and engaging, and it's really easy to mess up if you don't know what you're doing. Every little movement matters, and every little movement can distinguish a pro player from an intermediate, from an amateur or whatever. Where you look is important. What you're looking for is certainly by where you point your camera, but certainly your vision starts with where you point your character's camera, and then what you do with your eyes is up to you. Right there, I know a person's trying to hide, so I back up, and I think they're retreating to the left. I see an X. Somebody died. Okay, so now this is all clear, but I think he's still there, so I just check it. I get tagged. I'm a little weakened, Right there, I almost get shot. It's an E-liter hiding or something, tried to shoot me. So I throw balloons, somebody killed him. And then we tried to make good on our Rainmaker pop. See an attack coming up, so I know, who is it? The Emperor Doolies, or right down here somewhere. He tries to ambush from the top. Somebody tries to ambush from the side, and for some reason, I survived this. Getting hit by paint, but he's aiming to the left, and the very fringes of his aim is weaker. So then I immediately double back. I see that bomb, and then I immediately jump forward and survive somehow. But like every little movement matters. I like throwing bombs. Shooting over the ridge like that's not the best. Dualies, constantly doing the dually roll. You gotta get used to the way they move and just sort of... Man, this game's so cool. So this field right here, the whole game is very three-dimensional, but you can see right here there's tons of things going on. I'll draw it on the screen. Behind my head, there's a low area down here. Here's this little dip area right here where there's a centerpiece. These walls are there to help block, but they're asymmetrical. See that there's no wall right here, but there's a wall right here. You can climb up to this area and get up here. You can do this walkway and get over here. There's a walkway down here, and there's symmetrical on the other side. And I think you can get, where is it? Yeah, you can get right here, right? And that's from this back channel that goes over there. So there's a lot of verticality. There's a lot of things to look for. And down here, there's a gulch, which you might see in a second. Lots of places to hide, lots of places to keep your eye on. And attacking those spots early, like there, I throw balloons at their lookout. I throw a balloon beyond there, and I try to attack here. And a lot of people like attacking over this hill, but it's a blind shot. So you can take advantage of the fact that they're not aiming at you. Somebody tried to infiltrate and turn around and shoot me. So this is the kind of thing where you're like, oh, you have somebody, and if you can't kill them on this first attack when they can't see you, you probably need to move. So this person saw the ink behind me and immediately turned around to kill me, but I anticipated that and already moved forward into the ink I shot. And since you don't really paint your feet that well, but you do paint like ahead of you where you're shooting, I was able to quickly swoop around backwards, see the dually roll, go down again, and then get a jumping shot. Right? I love this too. These explosions are so three-dimensional, but they don't curve around cliffs. So I just hide there and immediately burst out. Like, look how close that is. And I'm like, I'll kill you! Got 2 hits and I knew to aggress. So it's the same situation we saw before. When there's a blind situation, what do? I shot the hill. This entire hill is mine. Right here. This entire area is mine. I can go here, 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 or just completely go to the side, or even come back around and go over here. So these are all my choices. If an amateur player or whatever would pick the direct path, like get there as soon as possible, that's not the best path. I go up the hill and go leftish. See the person there, didn't get the kill, went leftish again, and then walked back over my area, and that person got attacked. I like shooting 2 tenta missiles a lot. Yeah, a little lesson in staying alive. Throwing bombs to hold back people and then use that to help your timing, right? Using the tenta missiles. So these tenta missiles, they can lock onto people and reveal their position with these X's that you can see here and here, which is great because that even lingers a little bit after you fire the missiles, which you can see here. So I'm using that as basically a wall hack to aggressively go left because I know they're trying to use that laser and kind of get the advantage again, but I know the person's going to be left So I go left, right, left on the tower. Because if he's not left, and he's right. If he's not right, he's maybe back left again. Couldn't find him, but I killed the first person. Person tried to freaking sneak up behind me. And then I attack immediately and kill him. Look how close that person got. So essentially, what you're doing in increasingly optimized play is you gotta play in a way where you gain information, utilize those advantages, and then you sort of have a sense of timers in your head. You have a sense of how close they can be and how far they can be, and then you use that information to confidently switch instead of just sticking to one plan and going, I hope you're here. Like, I could have just bucketed left, left, left there over and over and just hope they walked into it. But you can see a curling bomb here, right here. This is from, again, this Emperor Dooley should be, yeah. So the curling bomb went this way. So this is where I do the left, right, left, but maybe using this entire tower as a blocker. So, okay, left, I go right. I go left again, and if I were really sharp, I would have seen this, right? Another, unless that's the arrow spray, because it's probably using a curling bomb rush. Did it actually get that? No. Let's see. Yeah, see that right here. So it's the arrow spray. Because nobody can throw that many curling bombs that fast. And when they're in the curling bomb rush, they can't shoot. So even though they're throwing about a bunch of bombs, there's pros and cons to that and advantages and disadvantages. So right here, you already used the special. So I go left, right, left. I'm like, what's that curling bomb? That one tries to chase me. I'm like, where is this person? 2 curling bombs? Like, that's where it is. That person couldn't shoot me. That person should have run away. Like, why are you doing aggressing? You couldn't even do anything, you arrow spray. And this is another reason why controlling the zone with your color, like, look how yellow this is. They're going to have a hard time getting out of here. That's the point. We had our advantage, and even though we got pushed back a little bit, they are going to have to slowly work their way out of here. I love it how the person with the laser got killed by my missile because they were focusing too hard. And see, if this area were even partially blue, this person would have been able to do a sneak attack instead of throwing all these curling bombs to get closer to me. But no, it's yellow. And when it's all yellow, guess where I'm going to attack? Right where the blue is. Because the enemies can't be in my color. And it's just so easy. That's why stage control in this is so important. Yeah, I think a lot of people underestimate what deep gameplay is and high-level play is. And they just think, oh, because the challenge is hard and it can be overcome, that, you know, that's the high level. You're like, yeah, maybe relatively, but... but you want to create your game to where there's all these opportunities for these subtle optimizations, and I'll try to point them out to you. So right here, somebody else threw the bubbles. They're not mine. I just pop them. That gives us this whole area is temporarily in our control because nobody wants to be in bubbles. Somebody threw a bomb there, so I back up and I paint. I see this person going right. Good old do. I'm like, why is that person going right? Well, got the attraction of the sniper. The sniper shot right, so now I'm like, I'm going to get you, sniper. And since sloshers do a really good job of sloshing over the walls, I have him pressured, and then I'm like, I got tired of him, so I just shot 10 missiles his way. Throw a bomb there because I got my ink back. Now the whole lower lip is dangerous for enemies. I don't expect them to drop off unless they die. So with that time, I'm going to cover the next drop off point. Not there. The person decides to throw a bomb and use a special. That's fine, because I'm going to get that person eventually. Somebody tried to kill me. This person's bad. Is that the same arrow spray? That gun is not good at killing. I should have been dead. So I back up, drop off, slosh forward, and then do a quick double back and throw a bomb. Splash the ground so the person couldn't back up in their own ink. That person totally overextended again. That's funny. 10 missiles. Get ready to eat them. So I know the person's going back around the side, so I attack early. See, that's the whole thing about using your advantage. It's not necessarily that the missiles hit. It's making sure that can't get on the tower. So here, it's kind of a chaos. I saw the person on the right, so I splash right. The person's back on the left, but I see that person has no ink. If you have no ink on your roller, you are not a threat. That person's going to need to either get down into their own ink or wait. So I have the advantage. So I press it. And that person got killed from behind. Like, cool. And then I see 2 people down here, and I verify with my tin of missiles that there's 2 people. And 2 people on their team are dead. So this is the entire team. I'm not worried about backstabs or whatever. I'm just worried about killing these people and continuing to press our advantage. Tin of missile that guy. Know that person goes that way. I decide to pursue. Because the other person can take care of the other guy. Because I put missile pressure on. Or I didn't put missile pressure. Kill that person and immediately turn around. And that person... yeah, got killed. But that's the entire team. And now finally, the rest of the orange people are back and the guy got killed. All green down here. This is our territory. Throw a bomb there in case somebody wants to drop off. Now that whole wall is green. Somebody tries to sneak attack. So one thing a lot of lower level players do is they play this like chicken game where they stay far back and try to shoot you and hope you walk into it. So I like to slosh into areas thinking to make them think I'm going to be there and just leave. Like, I'm not going to be fighting on that wall. I'm going to be fighting over there. And then it draws them out. And then that guy got way too aggressive. So that's 1 kill right there on the screen. This is the reset on the video. I spot 2 people, or I think 2 people. One's on my right where the ink just developed, and one is, they're fighting up there. So here's the person I saw the ink develop on the right. I saw you. One person should be coming, yeah, back from their base. I just know the timing. So right here, I was like, one person should be coming back from the base. And you can see them right here jumping off, heading straight down to this area. So I know this area is going to be contested. And that's information I use to know how to back off. So I threaten, just threaten a little bit and back off and let them go straight for the tower if they want. Couldn't get that kill because my own bubble got in the way, right? My teammate's bubble, so I'm like, whatever. This guy tried to take advantage of that. Way too aggressive. I'm not going to go close. You have a longer range. And this guy, he's like, oh, I'm in tin missiles. And he didn't want to go backwards. Probably should have. I threw a bomb at my feet so he couldn't get closer and then slash to the right. Max extend to my range. The person dies. Yeah, I think it's just a bad habit that people have with this game and these guns. Just holding down the trigger or just attacking over and over and over. When you can really think of it as moves in a fighting game, right? Yeah, you have moves, but when you use them and when you don't use them is still very important. Get back here. And backing up and then attacking from different angles make it harder for them to guess. Put traps there over the wall so they don't want to just jump over randomly. He attacked into the space, right? Right when you see him cut in like that, I moved and used this explosion to blind him, and he picked right because he thought I'd be hiding in the corner. I'm not in the corner. I'm killing you. Get the people off the tower. I can see them all right now. There's a person trying to hide. See that? Person trying to hide. Is that person Ninja Squid? You see any ripples? Right? That person may have had Ninja Squid, but when you tag them, it's not a mystery. And then here's one of the last players alive, right there. And then somebody's jumping into my left. Probably got killed. Let's see if they got killed. Yep. Right here. If you could just keep track in general of when the X's go down at the top. So I'm fighting a Tintbrella right here. It's a Tintbrella. That's this weapon. Obviously, these 2 teammates are dead. So that means this person has to be a splatter shot. Splatter shots can splash down, so you don't want to necessarily stand too close to that landing spot. But I just trusted my teammates could definitely handle the close spot, and I can handle the far spot. And this is how you divvy up your tasks much better. So I back away, and I just do this. And the other person dies. There's the X. It's amazing when you... Not that. When you start moving differently and you start seeing differently, everything changes. Instead of just running in going, who can I kill? Where are they? You got to know where they are before you go in. So, one person to my left. Slash you. You got too distracted. I see two people, I think, right here. There is a umbrella user, which is this guy. And there should be a Luna Blaster somewhere around there getting ready with a special, a baller. Let's see what happens. Luna. Or that's not Luna. Can't surprise me. Why are you... Oh, it's a Splushamatic. That person totally should have killed me. But see, my jump was unpredictable. So like, look here. You never want to be like just super straightforward. So I go here, and then I just go up the ramp for no reason, and then I cut on the edge, and then drop down. And that person could not track my movements, and that's why that person died. Then I tin a missile again to spot them. Here they come. They're dead. Fine by me. Probably not the best for me to jump down there immediately. Probably should have spotted them. So this is a good example of, look, I'm dead, I'm the only one who died, I check the map, I see that my teammates are right here, I died, is that me dead? No, another teammate died right here, and there's only one teammate alive, it's the Luna Blaster, and it's trying to defend, so I'm like, okay, we're in trouble, we gotta do something about it. They took the tower, so immediately... This is kind of pink down here. They could have been hiding anywhere. This is probably a bad idea. So I cover the front, and I don't even know who I'm attacking, right? That's another bad idea that I noticed. I see a bomb. Probably the person probably should not have thrown a bomb there. He was trying to trap me, but you have to trap when you're ready to definitely like secure the attack. And because I'm on my own ink and downhill, see how a lot of these shots just flat out miss? Miss. Maybe hit. Yeah, it hit because you see me land right in the pink. Miss, hit. Then I go off to the side, and I can see you better than you can see me. Slosh, and slosh. And your bullets are going to be so inaccurate when you jump, because that's the kind of weapon you have. It's an NZAP. And then I had the advantage. I throw a bomb there because I don't want that person to creep up on me. Go over the hills. I immediately see a splash, right there. I'm like, oh, look. Jetpack, not even looking at me. I know I can go in aggressively. Tried to slosh. I should have known my range there, but the person dies anyway. The jetpack dies. Or he lands in and dies. And I put the missiles down. And the last person to attack is directly ahead. I see it. And we go for him. And that's basically three of the team dead. Yeah, sometimes the best thing you can do is just throw bombs from afar. Getting in there and just putting your body into the mix, you gotta know when to do that. I check the map, I see ink developing behind me. I'm trying to hunt this guy. Throw a bomb up there in case I see somebody behind me. I jump out and they're like attacking the wrong direction. It's so funny. So this is super important. Two of them are dead. I see two of them right there. This is the entire enemy team. Dead. Now, see at the top of the screen, team wipe. Team wipe. So I'm not worried about getting backstabbed anything right here. So what I do is I paint quickly. And then instead of going, yeah, we're so good, I jump, hide. And since I don't see anyone, I'm like, check the map. A little ink is developing here. The kind of weapon that would make ink that splatter like that, maybe the Nautilus, maybe the 96 Gal. Ink is seriously developing over here, as you can see. And that was like a little line. So I know that that's probably an NZAP. So I'm like, I'll kill you, NZAP. And then all of a sudden, that's the NZAP. That's not the Sploosh-O-Matic. That's the N-Zap. And I called it correctly, too. The other two weapons were... I throw a bomb up like I'm going to trap. Is that my bomb? When did I throw it? I threw that over the top. Wow. It went completely over the top. And notice what happens. When there's a whole section of green, and I just stop early, they're moving so fast, they think I'm going to be hiding somewhere up in that green. Just standing behind them. It's just angry squid face. It's so funny. They clearly weren't tracking me with their eyes. They were just tracking the smoke screen, so that's what they get. This is another thing I started doing a lot more recently. Instead of just walking up to the edge and be like, I'll kill you. Like I said before, give them a reason to miss, right? Look, I'm over here, guys. Actually, I'm over here. Hey, guys, I'm over here. Actually, I'm over here. Hey, guys. And he tries to spot me, so I go back over here. They have to keep guessing. Then I saw something happen over here, so that guy dies. I don't drop down because that's dangerous, and I go left. Why not? I see the action, I throw the bomb. That's so funny. So ink armor is an amazing ability for increasing your chances of survival, but they added one drawback early in the patches. People used to just stand on the tower and ink armor up, and it was just really hard to get them off. So they made it to where if your ink armor pops, you get blown back. So I throw a bomb there, two fools get blown back this way, near the pit, and they die. It's so funny. You gotta be really careful. Every level is like a different death trap. But yeah. Just more examples of really small optimizations that really make Splatoon really cool. There's no miracle, right? It's every stage, every gun, every position, knowing where you should be, where you shouldn't be, and what you can take out from those positions. And then just once you know it, it's so much easier to be flexible. Oh, by the way, check out these names, Adrian. You see that? We're on my team.
Hydra Kids, Hydra Wife.
And they're double Hydras. I thought that was so amazing. Oh, nice. Shout outs to them. But yeah, optimizations are about the little things. And in order to give your game a lot of little things, you have to get a lot of little differences, right? Like the difference between this versus this versus this. The best way to do that is to make a continuous something, whether it's time or space. The best way to do that is probably to use time and space, which is the reason why I say you should probably have not a lot of tracking. You should probably, not make a lot of crazy combos and keep your hitboxes more conservative so that it's really clear what's happening, and you can begin to say like, if I move my toe across this ledge, I'm this, and if I move it back, I'm this, but if I move it sideways, I'm this. You can only tell that kind of stuff, one, when you have control, and two, when that control matters, right? When the rest of the game is designed to make that stuff matter. So we'll see more. We'll do more analyzing combat and high-level play in the future. That's really all I have for today's stream. Adrian, any final questions? I mean, you were looking at, you can finally see some of the Splatoon play from my point of view. How does that compare to the kinds of decisions you make?
So for one, using my eyes more, that was definitely something doing, thinking about like where are they going to be ahead of time, and that's something that I've been doing more of. So when we're on tower control, especially on a level like Port Mackerel, I think that's the one where it's really good for snipers and stingrays. That's when sometimes, the tower goes into the left and moves towards the third checkpoint. I would just go off into the right and get anyone there. I would pay attention to the upper left walls. I keep saying that a lot, actually. You probably hear me saying, look up at the walls, because I know that's where they're going to be and where they're likely going to shoot down at us, because people have a hard time looking up.
When they're coming out of the base, they start in a very specific place, and then they can only have so many other places to go from there. So that's why pressuring people in their base is a really effective strategy. They do have the advantage because they usually have the high ground coming out of their own base. And that means that when they dip down to the ink and move, you can't see them, but when you dip down, they can see you. It's a third-person game. Right.
Yeah. There are some that when you recognize the aerospray was using a curling bomb rush because of how fast they were coming out. That was definitely something that I don't think I would have caught on quite as quickly. Or the shooting at the... Because the thing is, that was actually a clever trick that they did of hiding in the curling bomb's trail so that they could get you, but since you were shooting at the only spot that was...
possible, yeah.
Yeah, that's how you caught on to what they were doing. That probably would have gotten me, but in general now I just need to be more suspicious of curling bomb rushes because that's such a common tactic for them to use now. There was another one where you were on a wall and there was a blaster and you were just like hovering on the wall. You got hit, I think, like twice, and you went down off the wall and threw your burst bombs to deal with the blaster. I think that was a Luna blaster.
Yeah.
So, because it's one of the...
It should be a two-shot kill if it was a Luna for the fringe, but maybe I was really on the fringe.
Yeah, it could have been that.
Probably a class.
I know the slower... It has a slower fire rate than Luna. So, taking advantage of that, you were able to throw in your burst bombs without retaliation, or at least not take so many hits from the blast that it would get you off the wall. Because normally that's a really crappy space to be in when going up against blasters, when you're on the wall and they're on top of it. There was another one that I'm trying to remember. Oh yeah. Just the general ways you've been using your 10 missiles. I mean, I haven't played with a weapon that has used 10 missiles in a while, but it's still good to see.
This part right here is funny. I know they're coming back, so I throw a bomb there, but I was too late, so I go hard left and then cut them off with a ink to the left, and then I just leave. And then it just blows up. Just knowing when to give it up is so important. And it's what's cool about that is, if you're talking about learning, the reason why it's so hard for people to let go of things and to switch is because switching, you have to switch to another idea, not a non-idea, right? So if your brain is busy running all the neurons and electricity through an idea that you have, it's got to have some more powerful idea to counteract sort of that activity. And the more powerful idea isn't the absence of an idea. That means it's just going to go to the next charged thing, which is the same idea you've been doing. So right here, you have to have enough experience to be like, man, every time I do this and just stay here and slosh, I die. So like, now I just don't feel like doing that. Like, how about I leave? And that tiny little voice like, get out of there. You're like, hey, where have you been? Get out of there. You're like, oh, I better get out of here. I almost died. I was so close to dying.
There was another one where you showed, I think you were pursuing someone and then you had two people chasing you, and then you just didn't keep going and they both ran right past you and you just squid jumped out of there. I thought that one was funny. That's another good one. Of course, if they actually had used their eyes, that probably wouldn't have worked. So
yeah, so I don't know. Let's see. Where did they come from? One jumped down. So the trick is, if you have Ninja Squid, you can dip down to the ink and basically utterly disappear. If you are softly moving through the ink, you don't leave a trail. So I think even if they were using their eyes, they would have a reason to believe that I was still moving forward, more so than just stopping and then immediately going to squid jump.
Did you have Ninja Squid? Because what
No.
it looked, because I'm like, you were visible that whole time, and you're visible anyways when you do a super jump, and you started the super jump as they were running right past you. So that's why it's like, oh, that was really funny. Another one I took note was that I don't remember if this is true, but I think these suction bombs actually have a farther throw distance than the regular splat bombs. But just how when you were pursuing them and they went up the ramp, you actually threw it over the wall.
Yeah. Oh, that's because I have sub power up.
Oh.
I do that for almost all my bomb kits, because suction bombs, splat bombs, and burst bombs, I just want to throw them very far. And that's probably why that guy died, because I have a full pure of sub power up. So he probably just like, I outrange him, I'm safe. I just took double balloon to his face and he dies. This is a funny moment. Another opportunity where I use my eyes. I'm like, oh, I used the map. There's one person there, so I throw the bomb early. Traps to the left. There's a guy jumping in on the right. I'm sure Zach will take care of him. I tin a missile to get them out of that spot, and then I force him to go forward, and I jump off, land on the Rainmaker while sloshing. It bumps me forward, and I explode, and he dies. Like, you was trapped 4 different ways. You are not getting out. It made me laugh so hard. I was like, that's enough. That's enough for tonight. Good talk, Adrian.
Thanks.
Later, guys.
Peace.